Crossing the world of cultivating immortals, Su Yu became a collateral descendant of an ordinary immortal cultivation family. Apart from being handsome, he was useless, with ordinary cultivation talents and a mediocre background. Fortunately, Su Yu brought the game proficiency panel he had played in his past life, ignoring all limitations such as spiritual roots and understanding. As long as he practiced and accumulated proficiency every day from 9 to 5, he could improve his strength. Living for thousands of years, it's easy to become an immortal and an ancestor. What kind of sex heavenly pride and powerful ancestors are just fleeting memories, only cultivating immortals, oh no, only proficiency is eternal. Keywords of the novel. Changsheng Daojun. I have no bottleneck in cultivation and no pop-ups. Changsheng Daojun. I have no bottleneck in cultivation. Download the complete text. Changsheng Daojun. I have no bottleneck in cultivation. Latest chapters to read. Chapter 1. Proficiency panel. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Proficiency panel. Cloud Sword Sect. Outer Gate Trial Peak, Refining God Platform. Su Yu's face turned pale and he woke up in a cold sweat. Before he could recover, a voice came from his ear. Su Yu, ranked 10th in the 3rd level of Divine Intent. On a high platform, several deacons of the Cloud Sword Sect shook their heads gently as they looked at Su Yu's message. The score in this level is quite good, considered above average. However, his spiritual root is only a lower grade spiritual root, and his 2nd level of intelligence is also lower, plus his age is already at the threshold of 16 years old. Let's eliminate it. Elimination, seconded. This year's Cloud Sword Sect Beginner Disciple Test has more than 300 people, but the quota is only 30. Even though Su Yu's 3rd score is relatively good, his lower grade spiritual roots and clumsy understanding are hard injuries, and the score in the 3rd level is not enough to make the Cloud Sword Sect break the record. As the young girls on the refining stage woke up, the results of the 3rd level of Divine Intention were released. This level tests the stability of the foundation of the Ling Tai and the strength of one's own will. So it is called Shiniguan. Brother Yu, with such good results in the 3rd level, you should have the opportunity to enter the Cloud Sword Sect, said Su Qingyi, a younger brother of the same clan, with a hint of envy and unwillingness. His performance in the first 2 levels was relatively good, with a medium-level spiritual root and a lower level of comprehension ability. However, in the 3rd level, his ranking of Divine Intention was over 60. This score is basically impossible to enter the Cloud Sword Sect. Su Yu didn't speak up. This younger brother has a proud personality, and these words are not really about believing that he has a chance to enter the Cloud Sword Sect, but purely about using his achievements to talk about things. If his 3rd level is the top 3, perhaps the Cloud Sword Sect will break the rules and take him as an entry-level disciple. But the 10th with his inferior spiritual roots and intelligence, it is basically impossible. A woman next to her furrowed her brow and scolded lightly, Qingyi, don't talk. Big sister, I really think brother you can do it, after all, his 3rd level score is even better than you, Su Qingyi whispered, glancing at Su Yu. The woman remained silent. They all belong to the same family, and the woman is Su Ji, the eldest daughter of the Su family in the Jiangqing cultivation family. She is also the most talented among the 3. The spiritual root is above average, the comprehension is above average, and the 21st highest score in Divine Will is also considered above average. Entering the Cloud Sword Sect should not be a problem. Sure enough. On the nearby high platform, a deacon's breath filled the air and shouted, silence, we will now announce the list of newly selected disciples of the Cloud Sword Sect. Gong Sun Yi, Chen Bai Lai, He Xiusu Ji, Lin Danlang. Upon hearing the name left, the others left the Cloud Sword Sect. Su Qingyi didn't hear his name, his face full of unwillingness to follow the crowd and leave the outer gate of the Cloud Sword Sect. He was lost and didn't even notice that Su Yu beside him had a slightly dazed expression, which didn't seem like he was being eliminated. Several elders of the Su family are waiting outside, including Su Peng, the head of the Su family, and Su Ji's father. After learning that Su Ji had successfully entered the Cloud Sword sect as an outsider disciple, Su Peng and several other elders of the Su family were very happy. With a strong and sturdy body in a green robe, Su Peng, who was still a middle-aged and strong man, looked excitedly at the gate of the Cloud Sword sect and said, "All right, all right. Xiaoji has entered the Cloud Sword sect, so our Su family has a chance." After getting excited, Su Peng looked at Su Yu with a dazed expression and Su Qingyi with a lonely expression and comforted him, saying, "You two don't need to lose heart. Although not being able to enter the Cloud Sword sect is indeed a big regret, staying in the family and practicing with peace of mind may not necessarily lead to poor achievements in the future. Note that when I was young, I also wanted to join the Daiyue Palace as a real person in the Baiyue immortal city of the Daiyue Mansion. However, because my spiritual root was only a lower grade, I was rejected and could only become a casual cultivator. But now, the Baiyue immortal city founded by the real person has become one of the top immortal cities in the Daiyue prefecture. You two stay in the family to cultivate, and your starting point is even higher than that of the real person worshipping the moon." Upon hearing the story of the real person worshipping the moon, Su Qingyi clearly felt a little uplifted, and a glimmer of light appeared in his eyes under the blood of the family's main character. The immortal worshipping the moon is just a low-level spiritual root, but it can create the worshipping moon immortal city. And Su Qingyi is a mid-level spiritual root, so he may not necessarily be worse than the real person worshipping the moon in the future. Su Yu didn't feel much, but looking at everything in front of him, he still felt a bit dreamy. How could he play games and sleep all night, and wake up with a different world? The name, Baiyue Zhenren, is a bit familiar. It seems to be a small boss in the early stage of the game he played. In a daze and confusion, Su Yu followed several family elders such as Su Peng back to Changsheng. On the way, I also met people from the Lin family, who are also members of the Shuxian family in Changcheng. This time, there was also a member of the Lin family who entered the Cloud Sword sect, but they were almost at the bottom, not comparable to the Miss Su Ji of the Su family. So the people of the Lin family didn't look very good when they saw the people of the Su family. "Humph, let's go." Lin Kuei, the elder of the Lin family leading the team, snorted coldly and urged the spirit horse under his crotch to accelerate forward, not wanting to see the Su family. Jiangcheng is a small town near the Cloud Sword sect, with a population of only over 100,000. It is controlled by two small immortal families, the Su family and the Lin family, each holding half of it. 3 days later, Su Yu returned to the Su family. Originally, he was a collateral child of the Su family and could only live in a small house on the outskirts of the Su family. His parents died at a young age and he was raised by the family. The standard starting point was the orphan protagonist. However, after he returned, the family cleaned a courtyard for him in the mansion and assigned a young and beautiful maid to serve him. He possessed spiritual roots and was able to embark on the path of cultivating immortals, which was the cultivator. Every cultivator is a core figure in the cultivation family and a key factor in the prosperity of the family. Su Yu's treatment at the Su family is naturally not inferior. Su Yu received a monthly offering, a lower-grade spirit stone, and 30 kilograms of lower-grade spirit rice from the elder, and returned to his own yard. Lower-grade 5 spiritual roots. Su Yu sat cross-legged, pondering. He had a balanced physique of the 5 elements spiritual roots. Such a balanced physique is not common, but the lower-level spiritual roots of the 5 elements are not very useful. The predecessor cultivates the immortal cultivation skill of the Su family, the Wudong green wood formula, and the wood attribute skill, which can be cultivated up to the 9th level of the gas refining realm. He has just entered the beginner level of cultivation, and his cultivation level is 1 level of Qi refining realm. This kind of cultivation is true and not bad. It is not easy for ordinary cultivators to cultivate techniques up to the 3rd or 6th level of Qi refining. He is not picky about which cultivation method is better for himself, and he has no other cultivation methods to choose from. But when he was focused, the lines of words that appeared before his eyes made him uncertain. Name: Suyu. Cultivation: 1 level of Qi refining realm. Shouyuan. 16/98. Skill: Wudong Greenwood Formula, 1 layer, Proficiency 1.6%. Spells: Woodvine Technique, Proficiency 3.4%, Spirit Nourishing Technique, Proficiency 6.5%. A very rudimentary panel. Just looking at this panel made Suyu feel a bit unreal and confused, saying, "Did you actually travel through time or enter the game?" After thinking for a moment, Suyu looked at her maid who was cleaning in the yard and secretly looked at her, saying, "Come over here, Ling Dong." Bei Lingdong's pretty face suddenly turned slightly red, and she quickly ran over with her head lowered, saying, "Young master you, it hurts so much." At the next moment, Bei Lingdong let out a painful scream, staring at Suyu with tears in her eyes as she covered her face with both hands. She couldn't understand why he had to pinch her face, or whether they were together. Suyu's face remained unchanged and his heart skipped a beat. He withdrew his hands from pinching the girl's face and said, "If you want to see, just look directly, don't peek." Bei Lingdong's face suddenly turned red and he lowered his head, afraid to look at Suyu. He felt ashamed that his secret had been exposed. But I didn't notice Suyu's thoughtful expression. Pain. Do NPCs feel pain? There was a personal test, and Suyu pondered to himself, the point of Baiyu Immortal City is indeed a small boss in the game, but what kind of ghost is Cloud Sword Sect? That game doesn't have Cloud Sword Sect, and the place where Baiyu Immortal City is located is not called Daiyue Mansion. So, is it a coincidence? Not in the gaming world. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Ancient Body Refining Technique. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Ancient Body Refining Technique. Suyu, who had not figured it out, suppressed his doubts and began to focus on his cultivation. Let Lin Dong cook half a gene of lingmi at noon. After eating the lingmi, Suyu sits cross-knee under a tree in the yard, taking advantage of the thin spirit of lingmi, meditating and cultivating the Wudong Greenwood Formula. The spiritual energy is a bit thin. Although the gathering spiritual formation has been set up in the mansion, and this place is also the strongest spiritual energy point nearby, it ultimately cannot compare to those sex-blessed areas. Feeling her cultivation speed carefully, Suyu shook her head gently. The strength of the Su family is still a bit weak. There is not even a tribe with a low-level spiritual vein. If he could have a low-level spiritual pulse, his cultivation speed would probably increase by 2 to 3 times. Now, in the sparse spiritual environment, he can only rely on the spiritual energy of lingmi to cultivate. Fortunately, with the spiritual nourishment of lingmi, Suyu's cultivation speed did indeed increase slightly. Originally, he needed to practice for more than 4 hours a day to reach his limit. After taking lingmi, he only needed to practice for less than 4 hours a day. The next day, the first level proficiency of Wudong Qingmuju was increased to 1.88%. Compared to the previous day, it has increased by about 0.28%. By this calculation, it will take him 1 year to upgrade to the second level of the Qi refining realm. Due to just entering the path of cultivating immortals, Suyu currently has no business arrangements in the clan. He only needs to practice step by step every day and can receive a monthly supply of spiritual stones and rice resources. Try the inferior spirit stone. Suyu couldn't help but use the only inferior spirit stone in his hand to practice. After 5 consecutive days, Suyu's cultivation speed doubled. No, it should be said that the proficiency growth rate of Wudong Qingmuju has doubled. In 5 days, the proficiency level increased from 1.88% to 4.7%. The magic power of Wudong Greenwood Ju in the body has increased a lot. Unfortunately, in 5 days, the spiritual energy of that inferior spiritual stone has been depleted. Without the spiritual stone, he can only rely on spiritual rice to cultivate. The cultivation speed has greatly decreased. It's still comfortable to use Lingshire. Suyu felt a bit uncomfortable, but quickly adjusted himself. Slow down a bit, as long as your proficiency can improve, it's okay. It's not urgent. After all, he is only 16 years old and has several decades to live. I think he should have a chance to build a foundation and succeed in cultivating immortality steadily. At that time, you will have a lifespan of 200 years, and then try to find the opportunity to achieve the golden elixir. Be careful, there is hope for the true person of Jidan. The days were peaceful, and in addition to practicing, Suyu was also proficient in 2 spells in his hand. The proficiency improvement of 2 spells is much easier than that of martial arts. Practicing them step by step every day, 9 to 5, and the proficiency quickly increased to over 10%. Suyu doesn't have to take care of family affairs. He leads a fulfilling life every day, practicing his martial arts and spells tirelessly. On that day, Suyu came to the family treasure trove in his spare time and looked at various classics related to the cultivation world. The 1,000-Year Wind and Cloud of the Cloud Sword Sect. The Secret that Daming Mansion and Daming Palace have to tell. Observing the Immortal City of Worship to the Moon. Strange People and Strange Things in the Immortal Realm of Changsheng. It is rumored that the founding ancestor of the Cloud Sword Sect, the Cloud Sword Fairy, was a stunning sword immortal who once leveled a mountain with a sword and erected the Cloud Sword Sect's mountain gate. 500 years ago, the Cloud Sword Sect emerged from a demonic Taoist, who had already reached the realm of the golden elixir immortal at the age of only 60, leading the Cloud Sword Sect to its peak. However, 100 years later, this Taoist was inexplicably seriously injured and fell. It is rumored that he once challenged the Yuan Deneng of the Dayue Palace. The inheritance of the Dayue Palace is secretive. It is said that there is a blessed land of the Dayue Lake in the core dojo of the Dayue Palace, where one can practice for thousands of miles a day. The real person who worships the moon has always thought of being a legendary figure in the Grand Moon Palace. Most of these books record idle talk and trivial matters, as well as some common knowledge and observations in the cultivation world. There are also many rumors and gossip about influential figures, especially the past love story of the real person worshipping the moon. Suyu watched it with relish, but unfortunately there was no sequel. For half a month, whenever Suyu has leisure time, he will come to the treasure pavilion for a while. On this day, he saw a dilapidated classic book. Oh, Crocodile Demon 108 Style Body Refining Technique. Suyu's heart twitched as he looked at the records in this dilapidated classic. In the game, cultivation techniques are the most advanced and important foundation for cultivators. But in addition to cultivating immortal skills, body cultivation should also not be underestimated. Because at the end of body refining lies the ancient gods, such as in the era of the ancient witch race, where physical strength dominates a region and no one can resist. Perhaps the methods of refining one's body are not as good as cultivating immortals, but it is difficult to say which one is stronger or weaker in the end between refining one's body and cultivating immortals. And even though some cultivators may not appreciate body cultivation techniques, in reality, there are many cultivators who secretly practice both. Because cultivators are weaker in their physical bodies compared to their powerful magic. There are many benefits to practicing body techniques simultaneously. Previously, Suyu played a game character who also studied a physical training technique. Suyu carefully looked at the Crocodile Demon 108 Style Body Refining Technique in his hand, and only after reading it did he understand why this body refining technique would bury dust in the treasure pavilion. This body refining technique is not simple, originating from an ancient giant crocodile demon. The body refining technique created must be based on the bloodline of the same clan as the great demon in order to enter the beginner level of cultivation. Nowadays, the cultivation realm of Changsheng has long lost the existence of such crocodile demon bloodlines. Naturally, this body refining technique is useless. And Su Yu's body refining technique has the previous 18 moves. Hehe, Xiao Yu found this body refining technique. Are you tempted? An old voice came from behind. Unfortunately, we tried many times in the early years, and even spent a lot of money to obtain the essence of a crocodile demon to try practicing it. But in the end, none of them succeeded. This body refining technique is not only owned by our Su family, but also by other immortal cultivation forces. It's just that after so many years, I haven't heard of anyone who can successfully cultivate. The bloodline of the crocodile demon race is probably extinct long ago. Su Yu turned around and realized that it was Su Bin, the fifth elder of the clan, who had reached the 7th level of the Qi refining realm with slightly white hair on his temples. It is said that this sutra pavilion was built by the 5 elders Su Bin with great effort. Most of the scriptures here were collected by him with great effort, just to broaden the knowledge of the younger generation in the clan. Grandpa Wu. So Su Yu respectfully paid his respects to this elder. Speaking, Su Yu hesitated and said, I wonder if it's possible to borrow this body refining technique for a while. Su Bin smiled and said, sure, but if you don't succeed in practicing, then don't put in any more effort. The most important thing is to cultivate your own martial arts. Thank you very much, Grandpa 5, Su Yu said happily. Upon seeing this body refining technique, Su Yu had no intention of reading other classics and immediately left with the Crocodile Demon 108 style body refining technique. Returning to his own yard, Su Yu carefully studied this body refining technique. Although there was no such thing as a crocodile demon bloodline laying the foundation, he still silently practiced according to the 18 types of body refining techniques recorded in the body refining technique. 10 consecutive days have passed. In addition to practicing Wutong Green Wuju and magic skills step by step every day, Su Yu spent all her spare time practicing alligator magic body refining skills. On that day, accompanied by a roar of his body, Su Yu felt his blood boil like lava, incredibly hot. His skin, flesh, and bones were all undergoing transformation. In a faint sense, the surging blood in his body converged into the true body of a giant crocodile, shrouded in blood like a demon head. At the moment when the crocodile formed, it roared up to the sky. Roar! Su Yu was greatly surprised, with blood streaks appearing on his skin and immense strength emerging from his body, giving him the illusion of being able to crack mountains and rocks with just one punch. Practice. Crocodile Demon 108 Body Refining Technique, Level 1, Proficiency Level 0.1%. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Trade Fair. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Trade Fair. Upon entering the beginner level of Crocodile Demon 108 Style Body Refining Technique, Su Yu felt a qualitative transformation in his body. A powerful force emerged from deep within his body, causing significant changes in his bones, flesh, and skin. A layer of blood-like scales resembling crocodile demon armor appeared on the surface of his body skin, and the moment blood entered this blood-like pattern, Su Yu felt an extremely violent force, like transforming into a giant crocodile demon. This body refining technique is really not simple. This is just the first level of entry. The transformation of physical strength is much stronger than the magic power of one's own Qi refining realm. Su Yu couldn't help but feel shocked. He felt that if he could use his magic against his body refining technique, perhaps the power of the technique could shatter his original self with a single punch. Explained what violence is. A glimpse reveals the whole picture, and in ancient times, the physical Shintoism was definitely not weak. At least not worse than cultivators. It took 10 days to get started, and then Su Yu, whose physical body had undergone transformation, had a significant increase in appetite. Moreover, he had to have meat all at once, preferably from monster meat. Correspondingly, compared with the slowly growing proficiency of the Wutong Greenwood formula, the proficiency of the body refining technique, which has rapidly improved, has been improved several times faster. Eating and drinking enough in a day to cultivate body cultivation techniques can increase proficiency by at least 1%. A month passed in a blink of an eye. This day is the day to receive the new monthly offerings, and the young cultivators of the Su family held an intra-clan trade fair. "Brother Yu, hurry up, the trade fair is about to start," Su Qingyi shouted outside Su Yu's yard. The trade fair is located in the backyard of the Su family mansion, where dozens or 20 stalls are placed. Su Yu and Su Qingyi walked and stopped, looking over all the way. The things traded at these stalls are mostly ordinary, and there are even pills and medicinal herbs used by ordinary martial artists. However, as she passed by a booth, Su Yu fell in love with something. A drop of mid-level monster essence and blood, the price of half a lower-grade spirit stone. After thinking about it, Su Yu bought it. Su Qingyi followed on the side, puzzled and puzzled. "What are you buying demon beast essence and blood for? Apart from alchemy and talismans, you don't need them, do you?" Half a lower-grade spirit stone, for the two who have just entered the path of cultivating immortals, it is not a waste if possible. Su Yu smiled and put away the jade bottle containing the essence and blood of the demon beast, saying, "I am useful." Upon hearing this, Su Qingyi's eyes flickered and he stopped persuading. Useful. Does it mean he wants to learn alchemy or talismanship? Even if it's learning alchemy or making talismans, it should be starting from scratch and seeking apprenticeship within the clan. At the last stall, Su Yu and Su Qingyi saw a row of ancient jade boxes. This is a unique item in the cultivation world, passed down from ancient times, called the Forbidden Jade Box. Most of them come from the secret realm of ancient relics, and due to the prohibition placed, ancient jade boxes that have gone through endless years will have a special residual aura. Once the ban is lifted, the aura will dissipate. So the forbidden jade boxes produced in ancient secret realms cannot be forged. The interior space of the forbidden jade box may be large or small, and there may be remnants of ancient things, or it may be empty. Someone once carved out a shocking inheritance from these ancient jade boxes. But more people have lost out on these ancient jade boxes. The chance of getting an ancient chance with this thing is even more mysterious than winning the lottery. The person who set up the stall turned out to be Elder Su Bin. When Su Bin saw Su Yu and Su Qingyi, he immediately smiled and said, "Xiao Yu and Qingyi, do you want an ancient jade box? There are ancient opportunities hidden inside this thing." When the real person of Baiyue in Baiyue Immortal City was young, it was because he obtained an ancient opportunity from the ancient jade box that he was able to rise and create the Baiyue Immortal City. The opportunity cannot be missed and never comes again. An ancient opportunity only requires a lower-grade spirit stone, which is a good thing. Su Yu looked silently at the 5 elders who had transformed into the street vendor. The 2 little things only offered 1 inferior spirit stone a month. This person actually coaxed them into buying ancient jade boxes too. That's really great. Originally, Su Qingyi couldn't bear to part with it, but when he heard the example of the real person worshipping the moon, his eyes immediately froze and he stared closely at the ancient jade boxes on the street stall. These ancient jade boxes have different shapes and have remnants of ancient prohibition. They cannot see through what is inside, or whether there is anything inside. Just as Su Yu was about to persuade Su Qingyi, he had already taken out an inferior spirit stone and picked out an ancient jade box from the stall, gritting his teeth and saying, "I want this." "Hee, good, good, good. You can buy it and leave it. It's not right. It should be a fixed purchase and no refund." Su Bin accepted the inferior spirit stone and looked at Su Yu with a smile, making his scalp tingle. Su Yu said repeatedly, "I just bought something and I don't have any spirit stones in my hand anymore." Upon hearing this, Su Bin immediately looked regretful and said, "There's no spirit stone left. Why are you 2 little guys so weak? This won't work. When will you go find the boss and ask if there are any suitable jobs for you to earn more spiritual stones? So when the trade fair opens again next month, you will have spirit stones to obtain ancient opportunities." Get a hammer. If there were ancient opportunities, it wouldn't be their turn. Su Yu didn't even glance at these ancient jade boxes. They were also games he had played before, which were like a mechanism for making money, a trick that only wealthy people could play. But even the tycoons will feel heartbroken when playing with this thing, and the number of people who can earn it is less than 1 in 10,000. It doesn't matter if you have free money to play. But every cultivation resource he has now is precious and cannot be wasted. Leaving the trade fair, Su Qingyi sneaked back to his yard holding the ancient jade box. Su Yu looked at his back and gently shook his head, then returned to his yard. After meditating for a few days, Su Yu took out the drop of first-level mid-stage essence, which was equivalent to the demon beast essence in the mid-stage of qi refining. Divided into 3 parts and swallowed the refining and body refining technique in sequence. Half a month has passed like this. Buzz. On this day, Su Yu's blood and energy surged, and blood streaks appeared on the surface of his skin once again. The overwhelming blood and energy transformed into a giant crocodile monster roaring in the sky and earth. Kaka kaka. Su Yu's body, flesh, bones, and skin have undergone transformation. With the help of that drop of mid-level monster essence and blood, his proficiency in practicing this body refining technique has rapidly increased after a month, and he has already broken through to the 2nd level. Skill. Wudong Green Wuju, Level 1, 19.2%, Crocodile Devil 108 Move Body Training Technique, Level 2, 0. 3%. After the transformation was completed, Su Yu stared intently at this line of words, feeling lost in thought. The Wudong Greenwood formula is limited by the spirit root talent, and the proficiency growth is a bit slow, but this body training technique is not affected by the spirit root talent, and the proficiency growth rate is not comparable to the Wudong Greenwood formula. Feeling the power of the body refining technique again, Su Yu sighed in his heart. He felt that even against cultivators on the 3rd level of the qi refining realm, he could have the power to fight. But unfortunately, in his mind, it was the right way to cultivate immortals. Although the proficiency of Wudong Greenwood Ju was slowly improved, it was acceptable. It's not difficult to climb to the 2nd level within a year. After practicing like this for thousands of years, he doesn't believe that he can't become an immortal or an ancestor. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Breakthroughs. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Breakthroughs. Su Yu didn't talk to anyone about the cultivation technique, including the senior members of the family. Perhaps he could receive better and more resources from the family in the future, but at the same time, his responsibilities and affairs would also increase. The danger will increase exponentially, which is very unfavorable for a novice cultivator who has just entered the path of immortality. Don't forget. In addition to their cultivation of the Su family, there is also a Lin family in Changsheng. The Lin family and their Su family are very difficult to deal with. In previous cultivation games, someone counted the probability that game characters would eventually become immortals by following the high-profile genius cultivation route and the Godao cultivation route. The ratio between the former and the latter is approximately 1 to 9. That is to say, the person who reaches the end of high-profile cultivation is only equivalent to 1/9 of the Godao. Compared to obtaining a small amount of cultivation resources from the family, Su Yu would rather practice quietly and gradually improve her proficiency. If you don't improve your strength, you will never leave your family. 3 months after returning from the Cloud Sword sect, Su Qingyi, who lived not far from the next door, broke through his cultivation to the 2nd level of the qi refining realm. After treating Su Yu to a meal and boasting, Su Qingyi chose to go to a medicinal field in the Su family to apprentice as a medicine apprentice, learn how to plant spiritual medicines and analyze their properties. This is the first step to becoming an alchemy apprentice. On the 2nd level of the qi refining realm, you can receive 2 inferior spiritual stones and 50 kilograms of spiritual rice and moon offerings from your family every month. In addition, by going to the medicine field as a medicine apprentice, you can also receive 2 lower-grade spirit stones every month. This resource is quite considerable. At least compared to Suyu. The speed of cultivating medium-grade spiritual roots is really fast, Suyu sighed in his heart, breaking through the second level of the Qi refining realm in 3 months. The speed of improvement can be comparable to that of top-grade spiritual roots. After drinking all the fine wine left by Su Qingyi, Suyu gently shook his head and settled down to continue his cultivation. The most important thing every day is the cultivation of Wudong Green Wood Ju. Although this wooden attribute technique has weak magical power and slow cultivation speed, it excels in calmness and richness, and has a healing and even longevity effect. Cultivating to the 9th level of perfection can prolong one's life for at least 20 years in the realm of Qi refining. This 20-year lifespan is very attractive to many people, so there are not many people in the Su family practicing Wudong Green Wood Ju. Moreover, the Su family's ability to start a family has a lot to do with Wudong Qingmu Ju. At present, the Su family mainly depends on cultivating the business of miraculous medicine, and the magic power of Wudong Green Wood formula is very helpful for the growth of miraculous medicine. Cultivate Wudong Qingmu Ju 4 hours a day to the limit. Then practice the 2 spells of Woodvine and Spirit Cultivation, both of which are just beginner spells. Wooden Vine technique is mainly used to trap enemies, while Spiritual Cultivation technique is mainly used to cultivate spiritual medicines. Improving proficiency is not difficult, and in the past few months, the proficiency of 2 spells has approached 100% satisfaction. We need to find another magic to practice, Suyu said to himself. But it's not urgent either. Once again at the tribal trade fair, Suyu took the girl Lingdong to stroll together. At the trade fair, Suyu found a desirable wooden attribute spell. Spirit Spear. The transaction price is not high, only 1 inferior spirit stone. This spell can condense a spear with magical power to break through the air and kill enemies, and when combined with the wooden vine spell, it can have miraculous effects. Although Suyu was not wealthy with spiritual stones, he still traded this spell. Let's go back. Without this month's inferior spirit stones, there is no need to look at the remaining stalls anymore. Suyu returned to his yard and practiced the Spirit Spear technique with peace of mind. The strength of Spirit Spear is entirely related to one's own mana. The more mana you infuse, the stronger the battle spear you condense. But the more mana is consumed. For the time being, having this attack spell on the first level of the Qi refining realm is enough. Suyu was very satisfied, but his strength was not enough, and he would not be greedy. Time slowly passed by. Time flies and the stars move. Spring has passed and autumn has arrived. In the blink of an eye. It has been a year since Suyu returned from the Cloud Sword sect. During this year, apart from practicing, Suyu has been wandering around the treasure pavilion and various markets in Changsheng every day. Occasionally, I went to chat with my 5th grandfather Su Bin and learned many interesting stories about the cultivation world from Su Bin's mouth. This old man is a relatively special member of the family. Apart from staying in the treasure trove, he occasionally goes missing and goes nowhere. The other elders of the family, even the head of the family, paid no attention to his whereabouts and idleness. Suyu once asked the old man, but Su Bin just chuckled and told him not to be so curious as a little kid. On that day, while Suyu was practicing, a green light flickered on his body and his magical power surged. The cultivation aura has finally broken through from the first level of the Qi refining realm to the 2nd level of the Qi refining realm. After breaking through his cultivation, Suyu did not hide it. He found Elder Air and showed his breakthrough cultivation, receiving a reward for breaking through the 2nd level of the Qi refining realm from Elder Air. Double the monthly supply, which means 1 inferior spirit stone and 30 kilograms of inferior spirit rice. In addition, the monthly supply for the 2nd layer of the Qi refining realm will be 2 inferior spirit stones and 50 kilograms of inferior spirit rice per month. It takes 1 year to break through from the 1st level of the Qi refining realm to the 2nd level of the Qi refining realm, which is considered the lowest level of talent. It won't attract attention at all. Even if someone knew that Su Yu had broken through to the second level of the Qi refining realm, they would only shake their heads. It took them a year to break through, which was really useless. Turning their heads would forget about Su Yu. However, Su Yu's cultivation had made a breakthrough, but Ling Dong was very happy and specially prepared a delicious meal for him. The two of them celebrated a little in their own yard. Another inter-clan trade fair, Su Yu saw many demon beast essence blood sold at the booth, including pre-first level demon beast essence blood and a few drops of mid-first level demon beast essence blood. So much demon beast essence and blood. Is there a small-scale beast trend in the medicine field? Su Yu was surprised in his heart. I bought 2 drops of mid-level demon beast essence and blood from an inferior spirit stone I had saved up in my hand. After wandering around the trade fair, I didn't see the figure of Elder Su Bin. I had originally wanted to ask him about this, but now I haven't seen anyone, so I can only give up and leave. Half a year ago, Su Yu's physical training techniques broke through to the second level. After more than half a year of cultivation, the body refining technique had already broken through the third layer a month ago. Go back to the yard. Su Yu focused on the next line of words that appeared. Name. Su Yu. Cultivation. Level 2 of Qi refining realm. Shouyuan. 17/99. Skill. Wudong Green Wuju, Level 2, Proficiency 1.42%, Crocodile Devil 108 Moves Body Exercise, Level 3, Proficiency 10.67%. Spells. Woodvine Technique, Perfect, Spirit Nourishing Technique, Perfect, Spirit Spear Technique, Perfect. With 2 drops of mid-level monster essence and blood, let's see if we can challenge the 4th level body refining technique within 2 to 3 months. Su Yu looked at the proficiency panel thoughtfully. There are also spells. After accumulating some spirit stones, you can look for more powerful spells that are suitable for yourself. Or, should we consider side jobs such as alchemy or refining talismans? With a proficiency panel, there is no need to improve side jobs and save some pocket money in leisure time, which is a huge waste. Refining pills, refining weapons, refining talismans, and arranging formations, all of these side jobs are very profitable, Su Yu pondered, his eyes slightly shining. With money, his cultivation speed can be greatly improved. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Go to the medicine field. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Go to the medicine field. Learning other side skills such as refining weapons, talismans, and formations may be a bit troublesome for him, but learning alchemy is quite easy. Because the Su family is best at cultivating spiritual medicines, and over the years, they have made progress in both pharmacists and alchemists. Even in the small town of Xiaoxianfang under the command of Yun Jianzong, a Dangu industry was established to sell spiritual and Dan medicines. However, it is best to go to the medicine field to become a medicinal apprentice and identify spiritual medicines before learning alchemy. After completing the learning, one can become a disciple of the alchemist elders of the family. Su Yu hesitated a bit. Leaving the family and heading to the medicine field, although there are strong family members guarding there may be more or less safety hazards. Some monsters sometimes attack the medicine fields. In the dark, we also have to guard against the Lin family's mischief. After a slight hesitation, Su Yu gritted his teeth and decided to go to the medicine field to become a pharmacist. Now is the best time to become a pharmacist, as he has a lot of free time every day and cannot waste it. After completing his studies, he will be able to learn alchemy, which will be beneficial for his future cultivation. Compared to that, the slight crisis of going to the pharmacy is nothing and can still be endured. Moreover, being a medicine practitioner can also receive an additional monthly supply of resources. After figuring it out, Su Yu asked the elder to take on a mission to become a medicinal apprentice in the medicine field. Elder Su Mengshan smiled and said, "It happens that the medicine field is short of people. With this token, I will have someone take you to the medicine field to find your uncle Changyu. He is an old pharmacist, and it is definitely right to learn from him. With the identity token for entering and exiting the medicine field formation, Suyu followed an elder from the 6th level of the family's qi refining realm to the medicine field. The medicine field is not far from Changsheng, but it is also hundreds of miles away, located in a barren mountain range, with a size of tens of thousands of acres. However, due to the issue of spiritual energy, although this medicinal field can grow spiritual medicines, at most it can only grow some less expensive first-order spiritual medicines, which can help the Su family earn some money and have a solid foundation. However, it is impossible to make a fortune. This medicinal field is the most important foundation of the Su family, guarded by layers of large formations. By relying on identity tokens to enter the field, one's eyes suddenly brighten up, and several large mountains and valleys shrouded in clouds and mist appear before them. Suyu let out a faint sigh in his heart, realizing that the spiritual energy in the medicine field was even stronger than in the Su family mansion. The medicinal field is very large, and there are not many people from the Su family here. In addition to hundreds of cultivators, there are also hundreds of ordinary clan members and laborers. On a hillside, a large estate was built with hundreds of small houses amidst the forest. Su Changyu, a cultivator who has been in the medicine field for nearly 30 years, has only managed to cultivate at the 3rd level of the qi refining realm for decades due to his limited spiritual talent. Because of this, he chose to stay in the medicine field and be responsible for planting spiritual medicines, while also cultivating pharmacists and apprentices for his family. When I saw him, Su Changyu was busy working in the medicine field with 3 pharmacists. Changyu, I have brought you a new person named Suyu, who will become a medicine practitioner with you in the future. Suyu was handed over to Su Changyu, but the elder who brought Suyu did not stop, and then left the medicine field. Su Changyu looked like a farming man, with a short body of about 7 feet, wearing an ordinary coat and a single garment. His skin was dark, and he had a burly figure with a simple and honest appearance. Looking at Su Yu's clean brocade clothes, Su Changyu chuckled and said, "It's great to be here. Young people need to learn some skills, and they can't rely on their families to support them for a lifetime. Besides, if you want to raise a wife and children, you have to work even harder." There are 3 medicinal disciples around him, all older than Su Yu. Among them, the youngest medicinal disciple is already in his 20s and has been in the medicinal field for 5 or 6 years. The oldest one is already in their 30s. Staying at this age is enough to serve as a pharmacist in the pharmacy. The pharmacists in the medicine field have only 2 places to go. One is to stay in the medicine field and wait for the day when they become a pharmacist on their own. One is to leave and find the opportunity to become an apprentice alchemist under the guidance of a master alchemist, perhaps one day becoming a formal alchemist. However, there are not many opportunities like this. The 3 apprentices who were busy nearby just glanced at Su Yu, smiled and nodded lightly as a greeting, and then continued to be busy. Su Yu bowed and said respectfully, "Teacher." Su Changyu nodded with a smile and handed him a booklet, saying, "Here are records of the spiritual medicines planted in the medicinal field, including their properties, growth habits, and several spells required for planting spiritual medicines. By the way, what techniques have you practiced?" Su Yu said, "Wudong Qingmu Ju is now the 2nd floor." Su Changyu's eyes lit up and he said, "This technique is good. Have you learned the spirit nourishing technique?" Su Yu nodded and said, "Yes." Su Changyu said happily, "Then I'll give you half a month to memorize this booklet, and then I'll take you to plant the elixir." Booklets are a good thing. After thanking Su Changyu, Su Yu then moved into an empty house in Yaotian Manor under Su Changyu's arrangement and temporarily settled down here. In addition to practicing martial arts and body refining techniques every day, it is also important to memorize the knowledge of various spiritual medicine habits in that booklet. This is the foundation of a pharmacist, as well as the foundation of becoming an alchemist. In addition to the knowledge of spiritual medicine, there are also several spells recorded later, including Water Attribute Spiritual Rain Spell, Earth Attribute Earth Spirit Spell, Wood Attribute Spiritual Nourishment Spell, and so on. There is also a spell with Wood Attribute called Yunling Spell. The function is to nourish the wood spirit with divine consciousness, expand the sensitivity and perception range of divine consciousness, practice to a high depth, and instantly perceive the growth status of nearby spiritual medicines. The wood spirit nurtured by this spell can not only be used for planting spiritual medicines, but also for guarding or exploring spiritual medicines in the wild, and its effect cannot be underestimated. In addition, this spell is also very helpful for practicing alchemy and becoming an alchemist, with many benefits. It's just difficult to practice. Of course, for others, it's just a matter of accumulated proficiency time for Su Yu. When Su Yu saw this spell, he decided to practice the soul accumulation technique next. Surprisingly, the spiritual energy in the medicine field is stronger than that in the mansion, and Su Yu's cultivation speed has slightly increased. On the third night of Su Yu's arrival at the medicine field, a few startled cries suddenly came from outside. "Monster, hurry up, stop it, come and steal the elixir again." After a long commotion, the commotion finally subsided, as if 2 demon beasts had been killed, but some of them had also escaped. Originally, Su Yu thought it was just a monster outside who was attracted to the medicine field and accidentally broke into it. But after a few days, there were traces of demon beasts again in the medicine field. This time, he heard the voices of several senior brothers outside discussing. "Here we go again, how come there are often monsters appearing during this period? I heard that this monster is called the Earth Rock Beast, which is a social monster that lives underground. It is said that most of the Earth Rock Beast's demon beasts will hover over the spiritual veins. Can't it be true that the previous story is difficult? 8 or 9 never leave 10. My master didn't even allow us to discuss this matter before. That's great. It's right not to discuss. If that's really the case, my Su family might be able to soar to the sky and surpass the Lin family in one fell swoop." Su Yu in the room felt a jolt as she listened. Earth Rock Beast. He is familiar with this kind of little monster, which looks like a mouse and is the size of a cat or dog. Proficient in digging holes, whether it's soil or rock. It is a social monster that he often cleaned up in the early stages of his previous life's cultivation game. His lifestyle is to use spiritual veins as a habitat and feed on spiritual stones or nearby rocks. So, in order to ensure the safety of the spiritual pulse, it is necessary to regularly clean up the Earth Rock Beasts. From the current situation in the medicinal field, it appears that the Earth Rock Beast has just appeared here, which indicates there is a high possibility that there is a first-order spiritual vein hidden beneath or near the medicinal field. That is the worst spiritual pulse. But even the worst spiritual pulse is still a spiritual pulse. Both the Su and Lin families do not yet have spiritual veins as the foundation for their own inheritance. If this news were to spread, would the Lin family watch as the Su family monopolizes the spiritual pulse? There may also be nearby cultivation forces or families who may be swayed by the news. Then the medicinal field will be in danger. At the thought of this, Su Yu immediately felt restless. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Introduction. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Introduction. In the blink of an eye, Su Yu had been at the pharmacy for half a month. He has already recorded all the booklets given by his master Su Changyu, and has successfully practiced the soul-gathering technique. Although progress has been slow, his proficiency has still reached 4.1% in half a month. The cultivation of Wutong Greenwood formula and body-building technique also improved, and the proficiency growth rate was slightly faster than that in the Su family mansion. However, after reaching the third level of body refining techniques, the difficulty of improving proficiency is greater than Su Yu's estimate. If he wants to break through the fourth layer, it's just a matter of course in 2 to 3 months. His current expectation is to break through the fourth layer of body refining within 6 months. Of course, if there is more monster essence and blood to assist, the time can be reduced a bit. Fortunately, after joining the medicine field as a medicine apprentice, Suyu's monthly supply share increased significantly. In addition, there were occasional attacks and killings of earth rock mice and monsters in the medicine field, allowing him to trade more monster essence and blood here. After half a month of leisure time, Suyu began to follow Su Changyu to learn how to plant spiritual medicines, as well as to study his understanding and comprehension of spiritual medicine habits. A few days later, there was also a trade fair in the medicine field manor. At the trade fair, Suyu saw Su Qingyi, whom he had not seen for half a year, and only then did he realize that his cultivation had reached the third level of the qi refining realm. In just over a year, Suyu was surprised by the speed at which he broke through from the first level of the qi refining realm to the third level. Although Su Qingyi is a talent of mid-level spiritual roots, the speed of improvement is too fast, isn't it? It is estimated that it will take more than a year and a half before he wants to break through the third layer of Wutong Qingmuju. Su Qingyi set up a stall, and the green and astringent taste that had been around for more than half a year had faded away. He no longer looked like a delicate young master in the family, and there were also monster essence and blood for sale and trading at the stall, which happened to be what Suyu needed. When he met Suyu, Su Qingyi was not surprised. After asking Suyu about his needs, he smiled and said, "I also have the essence and blood of the first and middle stage demon beasts. I have 2 lower grade spirit stones, and I'll give you 5 drops. Okay, Suyu naturally wouldn't refuse, as the price is already discounted. Su Qingyi enthusiastically said, during this period, there will still be monsters appearing in the medicine field. If you encounter any trouble that cannot be solved, you can come to me. If you find any traces of monsters, you can also come to me, and then you will receive everyone's points." Judging from Su Qingyi's appearance, it seems that he has adapted to the environment of the cultivation world. Suyu also saw a bit of the NPC template for the lower-level cultivator boss in the street stall that he encountered in the cultivation game before. After chatting with him for a moment, Suyu left the trade fair and went back to her room. With his current cultivation level of 3-layer body refining techniques, he can now refine 1 drop of intermediate-level monster essence and blood at a time. When practicing body cultivation techniques, Suyu thought of a layer of advice from Su Qingyi. The earth rock rat may be able to find a way to hunt on its own, earn some pocket money, and even obtain some essence and blood to practice body cultivation techniques. With the power of the third-level body refining technique in his current, Crocodile Demon 108 style body refining technique, he is not afraid even when encountering a first-order mid-stage ground rock mouse that is comparable to the 4th level of the qi refining realm. Moreover, he also knew a method of hunting ground squirrels without the need for manual action. In the early stages of the cultivation game, there were tasks that were often done, such as luring and hunting ground rock mice, collecting materials to make special animal lure powder. The animal lure powder specially made for ground rock mice can lure them around. As long as they eat the animal lure powder, the ground rock mice will faint and be slaughtered. Suyu is not sure if other immortal cultivation forces understand this method, but the Su family, who have not been in contact with the spiritual pulse and the earth rock mouse, probably do not understand it. Dylan flower, rosemary, union grass and wudong oil are just ordinary materials, which can be collected in the medicine field. Suyu thought to himself. Do as you say. After completing the cultivation of the body refining technique, Suyu began to collect materials for luring animal powder. I only spent 1 inferior spirit stone and collected 5 ingredients of animal lure powder to come back. Simply grinding 5 ingredients into powder and putting them in a jade bottle, Suyu said to herself, try again tonight. It's still early, he followed Su Changyu to the medicine field to complete today's task. Using spiritual cultivation techniques to nourish spiritual medicines, perceiving the growth status of spiritual medicines through spiritual cultivation techniques, and integrating with his previously memorized knowledge through practice. Seeing that Su Yu had learned the technique of spiritual cultivation in a short period of time, Su Changyu sighed and said, "Xiao Yu, you are the most talented person I have ever seen in all these years. None of your 3 senior brothers have been able to comprehend the technique of spiritual cultivation until now." Su Yu said repeatedly, "I'm just lucky. Last year, I followed the head of the family to participate in the beginner-disciple test at the Cloud Sword sect, and my score in the 2nd level of comprehension was only lower. Moreover, I am still a lower-level spiritual root, and it took me over a year of cultivation to break through from the 1st level of the Qi refining realm to the 2nd level. Teacher, please don't praise me, otherwise I will lose all my motivation for cultivation." "You, okay." Su Changyu's simple and honest expression was taken aback at the words, and then he chuckled, never saying anything about your most talented talent. However, for Su Yu, he was more attentive and asked her to learn with him every day. At night, Su Yu arrived at a medicine field with a bias location, picked 5 places to put down some spirit rice mixed with animal lure powder, then moved away from this place and waited quietly. After more than 2 hours, when it was late at night, Su Yu went over to take a look and found that 5 animal lure powders had successfully lured 2 ground rock mice. One is less than a foot in size, estimated to be just a small demon on the 1st or 2nd level of the Qi refining realm, while the other is almost 2 feet in size, and is a 1st level mid-stage demon beast. "I've earned it." Su Yu was overjoyed when he saw the big monster. Walking over, he grabbed its head and twisted it fiercely. With the terrifying power of the 3rd layer of the Crocodile Demon 108 body refining technique, he twisted its head in a circle, leaving no breath on his body before stopping. Solved the rat demon, the remaining mouse demon. Su Yu slapped it with a muffled bang, and the mouse demon's head and brain were all knocked out. Destroying the remaining 3 portions of Lingmi with added animal lure powder, Su Yu quietly returned with 2 ground rock mice in hand. Because the lure animal powder has a time limit of 3 hours and becomes ineffective when it becomes outdated, the remaining 3 portions are of little use. If you destroy them again, no one will notice. Returning to his own house, Su Yu skinned and bled 2 ground rock rat monsters. The blood essence of the monster refers to the blood of the monster's heart, which is the essence of the monster's power. It belongs to the condensed power source of the monster, and the number is small. That mouse demon, Su Yu only received 23 drops of 1st order early stage monster essence and blood. That rat demon had more and received 41 drops of 1st level mid-stage monster essence and blood. The cost of 1 inferior spirit stone was exchanged for about 30 inferior spirit stone materials. With the assistance of these demon beasts' essence and blood for cultivation, perhaps the 4th layer of the body refining technique can be broken through in just 2 to 3 months, Su Yu felt happy in his heart. What made him even more happy was that the game mission of luring and hunting ground rock mice in his past life actually allowed him to successfully hunt and kill ground rock mice. In addition to the proficiency panel, he has another golden finger to survive in this cultivation world. Of course, the success of the formula for animal lure powder is due to its easy preparation. He probably needs to deduce and try other supernatural formulas such as alchemy and refining tools from the previous life cultivation games that he knows. However, Su Yu was already very satisfied with this. Compared to others, he at least knew what the ingredient list for cooking was, what the portions were, and only the order and heat remained. And besides the recipe, more wealth comes from other knowledge and task strategies. Save some more money and buy a suitable magical tool. Thinking of the appearance of the earth rock mouse and the possibility of a 1st order spiritual pulse beneath him, Su Yu felt a sense of urgency. A low-level magical tool was worth at least dozens of inferior spiritual stones. He doesn't have that much money yet, so he can only save it slowly. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. For layers of body refining technique you are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 4 Layers of Body Refining Technique. In addition to being traded at trade fairs, monster materials can also be sold to families. Although the price is low, it is convenient and can be resolved all at once, and then exchanged from families for spirit stones or other resources. Suyu kept the flesh and essence of the mid-stage ground rock mouse monster for himself to use in practicing body refining techniques. And the animal skin, as well as the first stage ground rock mouse and essence blood, were sold to the family in exchange for 6 inferior spirit stones. Time slowly passed by. After arriving at the medicine garden, Suyu had several times more cultivation resources in his hands. Moreover, there are 41 drops of essence and blood from the mid-stage ground rock mouse. It can be considered as having abundant wealth and abundant strength. In daily cultivation, with the help of Lingshi and Lingmi, Wudong Greenwood Ju can reach its limit in less than 3 hours every day. Practicing the body refining technique, I can now swallow 2 drops of refined monster essence and blood in a day, and my cultivation speed has made a qualitative leap. Time flies and the stars move. One night passed. The next day, Suyu woke up from his practice and stared intently at the rows of proficiency panel words in front of him. Skill. Wudong Greenwood Ju, Level 2, Proficiency 4.5%, Crocodile Demon 108 Moves Body Exercise, Level 3, Proficiency 21.4%. In one day, the proficiency of Wudong Greenwood Ju can be increased by 0.18%, and the proficiency of body training can be increased by 0.82%. Suyu was thoughtful. In this case, it will take another 1.5 years for Wudong Qingmu Ju to break through the 3rd layer. The body refining technique will take more than 2 months to break through the 4th layer. Swallowing 2 drops of intermediate level monster essence and blood in a day for cultivation, the speed of body refining is more than twice as fast as without resources. Otherwise, the body refining technique cannot break through so quickly. Later, Suyu tried to use the inferior spirit stone to assist the cultivation of Wudong Greenwood Ju, and the cultivation speed was greatly improved, which could increase the proficiency by 0.28% a day. If he uses spirit stones for long-term cultivation, it only takes about a year for him to break through the 3rd level of the qi refining realm. If there were qi refining pills to assist, the cultivation speed could be faster, but a bottle of 10 qi refining pills requires 10 inferior spirit stones, which is equivalent to 1 inferior spirit stone and 1 qi refining pill. For the early stage of qi refining, a single qi refining pill only has 2 to 3 hours of time effect. Compared to using spirit stones, it is still cost-effective to cultivate with spirit stones. Unfortunately, Suyu shook his head. Now, not only is he unable to take medication, but even the spirit stone can only be used to assist in cultivation at intervals. If there are too many, they cannot afford it. After calculating the cultivation resources in his hand, Suyu practiced step by step every day, in addition to the tasks in the medicine field. Half a month later, one night, Suyu went out again to set up 5 traps of animal lure powder. This time, he hunted 3 ground rock mice, but they were all just first-order early-stage monsters. In addition to leaving the blood and flesh of the demon beast to satisfy his craving every day, Suyu also left a little bit of the early-stage demon beast essence and blood, and sold all the other materials to the family, earning 9 inferior spirit stones again. Time slowly passed by. Suyu has been at the pharmacy for 2 months. In the past 2 months, the disease of rock mice in the medicine garden has become increasingly serious, which has affected the safety of the Su family medicine garden. Many spiritual medicines have been bitten and damaged by the ground rock mice. Even more than 10 ordinary tribe members were buried under the claws and teeth of the earth rock mouse. This angered the senior management of the Su family, determined to eliminate the earth rock rat demon group. Not long after, the head of the family, Su Peng, visited the medicine garden and announced a bounty mission. Anyone who hunts and kills a first-order pre-ground rock mouse will receive an additional reward of 5 inferior spirit stones in addition to the value of the materials. Hunt and kill a mid-level ground rock mouse, and reward an additional 20 inferior spirit stones. Hunt down a first-order late-stage rock mouse and reward an additional 100 inferior spirit stones. Due to the rodent infestation on the rocks in the medicine garden, it has reached a point where failure to clean up can lead to catastrophic damage. If left to grow, even without the influence of first-order spiritual meridians, their Su family's spiritual medicine business would not be able to succeed. Whether it's for the medicine garden or for the first-level spiritual pulse, the Earth Rock Rat Demon group must be cleared and eliminated. Su Yu is not sure how the senior members of the family perceive the possibility of a first-order spiritual pulse appearing in the medicine garden, and whether any preparations have been made behind it. But after the owner Su Peng announced the bounty mission, Su Yu was very happy. Over the past month, he has only made 2 moves, but has hunted 5 first-order early-stage rock rat monsters. If we follow the family's current bounty, even if we don't buy materials, he can still earn a full 25 inferior spirit stones. Can you gather enough money for half of the inferior magical tools? Next, we can hunt more. Su Yu made a decision, even if his family noticed that he was very good at hunting ground squirrels. The family's bounty this time is enough for him to adventure and try. He looked at his savings and found 10 inferior spirit stones. He took out all of them and purchased a full 50 portions of animal lure powder materials. Wait until the evening. When Su Yu wanted to grind some animal luring powder and go hunting, his senior brothers called him up and planned to ambush him in the medicine field together, hunting rock mice. Let's go together, junior brothers. After dinner, many people have gone to the medicine field, and some even plan to stay there. The oldest senior brother Su Minghui warmly invited, and the other 2 senior brothers were also enthusiastic. The family's bounty made all the cultivators in the medicine field envious, and Su Yu was not the only one who was interested in this cake. Listening to what several senior brothers were saying, Su Yu was stunned for a moment and almost miscalculated. If so many people go to ambush the ground rock mouse, the probability of successfully trapping and hunting the ground rock mouse is not high. It is even possible to expose the presence of animal lure powder. So, Yao Tian is temporarily unable to go hunting. No, I'll just practice here peacefully. My strength is not strong, so you pondered and decided to avoid this trend. Let's wait for a moment. The group of Earth Rock Rat Demons is not so easy to deal with. So, he politely declined the invitations of the 3 senior brothers. Turn back and continue practicing. For the next period of time, the medicine field will be bustling every night, with countless cultivators lurking in the field waiting for the appearance of the Earth Rock Mouse. Once exposed, they may be attacked by several, or even a dozen cultivators. This incident lasted for over a month, and nearly 100 of the Earth Rock Rat Demon group were hunted. They no longer appeared much, and the cultivators in the medicine garden only slightly calmed down. That night. In the room. Who? Su Yu exuded a scorching aura all over his body, and every breath he exhaled was as hot and crimson as flames. The blood and gas inside the body churned like a great river, with thunderous sounds that deafened the ears. At a certain moment, Su Yu's blood and aura reached their limit. Boom! Roar! In an instant, the room was filled with blood, and Su Yu's whole body was shrouded in blood. Like a sea of blood, the blood transformed into a huge crocodile, perched on Su Yu's head, waving its teeth and claws, and patches of blood-colored scales and armor appeared, terrifying. With a roar, Su Yu's divine sea spirit platform was shaken, and a hazy figure sat cross-legged on the platform, calmly looking at the arrogant and domineering giant in front of him. A series of blood-like veins resembling scales appeared on the surface of Su Yu's body, and in an instant, Su Yu's body swelled a lot. Like a humanoid crocodile, its aura is fierce and terrifying. This time, Su Yu's body underwent a complete transformation for nearly half an hour, with the blood-colored veins on the surface and the wild blood on his body slowly converging, and his body returned to its original state. When Suyu opened his eyes and focused on the proficiency panel, the words on it had already changed. Practice. Crocodile Demon 108 Style Body Refining Technique, 4 layers, Proficiency 0.01%. There are 4 levels of body refining techniques, and his body and strength are no weaker than those of the first level mid-stage monster beasts. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Inferior Tools. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Inferior Tools. The mind withdrew from the proficiency panel, and Suyu looked at the empty jade bottle and couldn't help but shake his head. Without the essence and blood of the demon beast, the straight line decline in cultivation speed is really uncomfortable, he said. Fortunately, we finally broke through smoothly. In order to break through the 4th layer of body refining technique, Suyu has consumed all resources in the past 2 months, and the demon beast essence and blood obtained from hunting have been depleted recently. Afterwards, he received a monthly tribute and bought some first-order mid-term monster essence blood to return. Having spent all the spiritual stones, it was only then that I could break through the 4th level of the Crocodile Demon 108 body refining technique. However, Suyu felt the changes in her body, as well as the surging and violent force hidden deep within her body. Those resources are worth throwing down. After his blood and breath were completely restrained, Suyu went outside and looked at the pitch-black night outside, as well as the medicine field where only insects were chirping. You can try hunting ground rock mice now, Suyu thought to himself. It's really not easy to wait for those people to calm down. If he doesn't earn any more money, he won't be able to afford the expenses for his next cultivation. Returning to the room, Suyu began grinding the animal lure powder. The materials he had purchased before were well preserved and there are no problems using them now. After grinding 5 portions of animal lure powder, Suyu went out and quietly arrived at a biased medicinal field. After mixing spiritual rice, he set 5 traps and then left. After more than 2 hours, Suyu will come back to check. At first glance, I was overjoyed that the 5 traps had knocked out 3 ground rock mice, including one of the first-stage mid-stage demon mice. Including the reward materials, at least 60 inferior spirit stones are in hand. Suyu walked forward happily, gripping the head of the big demon rat with one hand and twisting it hard. Click. The head twisted 360 degrees, causing the big demon mouse's eyeballs to bulge, and its head almost fell off. If there is any difference between twisting the head of the mid-stage monster beast after breaking through the 4th level of body refining technique and twisting the head of the monster beast in the 3rd level before, Suyu felt that it was much easier. Previously, it was necessary to unleash physical strength to achieve this, but now it is easy to easily twist off the head of a first-level mid-stage monster. Go back. Destroy the remaining 2 portions of lingmi mixed with animal lure powder, and Suyu quietly returns with 3 ground rock mice. Early the next morning. When the others had just woken up, Suyu had already arrived at the entrance of the pharmacy in the manor and walked in carrying a burlap bag. Inside, an elderly man with gray hair was frowning and looking at the accounts. When he saw Suyu come in, his eyebrows relaxed. "What's up?" the old man said gently. Upon seeing the old man, Suyu immediately bowed respectfully and said, "Elder San, I'm here to exchange the reward." She handed the sack over as she spoke. The old man is Su Chang, the 3rd elder of the Su family, responsible for guarding the medicinal garden and the cultivation and operation of spiritual medicines in the garden. This pharmacy is the center of the pharmacy. Su Chang looked at 1 mid-stage ground rock mouse and 2 pre-stage ground rock mice in a sack and was slightly surprised. He looked at Suyu and said, "Are you hunting this?" Suyu said repeatedly, "I hunted with a few senior brothers, I'm just one of them who came to receive the reward." Su Chang still praised, "Not bad. Being able to hunt ground rock rats up to the mid-stage of the first stage is already a major threat to the medicinal garden. This group of rock mice and monsters has a considerable number, but most of them are only early stage monsters, and there are not many rock mice in the middle stage of the first stage. I haven't seen any trace of the rock mouse in the later stage of the first order. After giving a thumbs up, Su Chang took out the reward and the lower grade spirit stones of the material value of the 3 demon beasts. Because the mid-stage earth rock mouse demon beasts did not have essence and blood materials, there were only 40.2 lower grade spirit stones along with the reward. Among them, the bounty consists of 30 inferior spirit stones. The first stage monster material is not worth much money. After receiving the spirit stone, Suyu respectfully advised to step back and leave the pharmacy. 1 week later. At night, Suyu once again ground 5 portions of animal lure powder, and this time he hunted 2 first-order pre-ground rock mice. The next day, he found a time when the third elder was not in the pharmacy, went to exchange and receive a reward, and bought the materials. This time, he obtained 14 inferior spirit stones. Half a month later, the third hunting. This time, Suyu hunted a total of 4 first-order pre-ground rock mice. The next day, I exchanged and obtained 20.8 inferior spirit stones. And with the spiritual stones he had accumulated, he exchanged them for a suitable magical tool in the pharmacy. The Red Luo Blade. This is a lower-grade magical tool forged from a special ore called Red Luo stone. It is about 2 feet and 2 inches long and looks like a short knife with slightly curved edges and a single edge. There are only 2 specialties, one is sharpness and the other is armor piercing. The price is 60 inferior spirit stones, not too expensive. After obtaining the magic weapon, Suyu still had 24 inferior spirit stones left. In the coming time, Suyu doesn't plan to hunt rock mice so frequently, at most once every half month, or once a month. In the pharmacy, the third elder Su Chang was slightly surprised as he looked at the reward record. Within half a month, the younger generation named Suyu actually hunted 9 ground rock mice. This quantity is a bit unusual. Looking again, not long ago, Suyu spent 60 inferior spirit stones to exchange for an inferior magical tool, the Red Luo Blade. Good kid, I used to say we were hunting ground rock mice together with a few senior brothers, Su Chang chuckled in silence. But when I turned around, I bought an inferior magical tool myself. If it weren't for looking at the ledger records, I wouldn't have been able to detect them. Does this kid have any tips for hunting ground rock mice? Su Chang found it quite interesting and noticed Suyu. You should know that Suyu is only 17 years old and recorded as a cultivation level on the 2nd level of the Qi refining realm. But he is able to hunt mid-stage ground squirrels, which is very abnormal. However, Su Chang only paid a slight attention to Suyu and did not go to great lengths to investigate Suyu's secrets, which was unnecessary. Go back to your own house. Suyu refined the inferior magical tool, the Red Luo Blade, and collected it into the elixir field to cultivate its magical power. This artifact is not intended for long-distance use, but was purchased for melee combat to leverage its own body refining skills. After all, compared to his 2nd level of magic in the Qi refining realm, the 4th level of body refining technique is his strongest strength now. Next, cultivate Wudong Greenwood formula with peace of mind. Suyu looked at the magic tool Red Luo Blade in the elixir field and breathed a sigh of relief. With the 4th layer of body refining techniques and inferior magical tools, his safety has at least been slightly guaranteed. He is no longer a novice cultivator who is at the mercy of others. Cultivate magical tools, cultivate magical power, and then use the essence and blood of a mid-level demon beast to cultivate body cultivation techniques. Suyu's life in the medicine garden is very regular, from 9 to 5. Watching his proficiency steadily increase every day, he feels a sense of satisfaction in his heart. After reaching the 4th level of the body refining technique, the effect of demon beast essence and blood on it in the middle of the 1st level is no longer significant. The growth rate of body refining skill proficiency becomes as slow as the magic power of Wudong Greenwood formula. This peaceful day suddenly changed after half a year. Suyu just asked the third elder of the pharmacy for a vacation and planned to go back to his home in Changsheng to take a look, but before he could leave the pharmacy, bad news came. Su Qingyi and several members of the medicine garden cultivators took leave and encountered an ambush from the Lin family. Only Su Qingyi fled back to Jiangcheng, but was also severely injured. The other few people were ambushed and killed by the Lin family. For a moment, the cultivators of the two major immortal families in Jiangcheng were at a loss, and their relationship became particularly tense. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. First Strike. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. First Strike. Su Changyu immediately stopped Suyu from leaving the medicine garden. He valued Suyu as a disciple of the medicine disciple and said, "Don't go back to Jiangcheng yet. There are many people from the Lin family outside, setting up ambushes and plotting against our Su family. The three elders have already taken people to handle this matter, and the family has also sent people over. I believe the matter will be resolved soon." Suyu pretended not to understand anything and looked a little frightened, saying, "Teacher, why did the Lin family take action against us? How dare they?" After hesitating for a moment, Su Changyu said, "You know about the recent appearance of the Earth Rock Rat Demon group in the medicine garden. Although the family has ordered the news to be spread, the Lin family has recently learned about it. The Earth Rock Rat is a group of demon beasts and monsters that specifically inhabit the vicinity of the spiritual veins, and in the past year, the medicinal garden has indeed become quite rich in spiritual energy. This indicates that there is a high possibility of a first-order spiritual pulse beneath our pharmacy. Our Su and Lin families didn't have any spiritual vessels in hand before. Now that the Lin family knows this news, it's impossible for them to remain indifferent. The group of people outside probably want to investigate the authenticity of the spiritual pulse message." As Su Changyu said, shortly after Su Qingyi and his companions were ambushed, the third elder Su Chang personally took people out to find the Lin family. At the same time, the family also dispatched several elders with their own teams to trouble the Lin family. In just half a month, the two major cultivation families in Jiangcheng have had conflicts and struggles of no less than 30 times, big and small. The cultivators of the Su and Lin families each have injuries. Even the elders of both sides had a fight, but the Lin family realized they couldn't take advantage and eventually took the initiative to retreat. 1 month later, Suyu quietly returned to Jiangcheng, safe and sound. But after returning to Jiangcheng, Suyu realized that compared to the current calm in the pharmacy, the tense atmosphere between the two families in Jiangcheng did not seem to have changed. The people on the street are in a hurry, no longer the peaceful Jiangcheng of the past. Suyu frowned lightly and was walking back to the Su mansion when a voice suddenly came from a nearby restaurant. "Ha! People from the Su family." Without waiting for Suyu to turn his head and look, a magical water snake suddenly took shape in the air. Whoosh! At the next moment, the water snake wrapped around Suyu at an extremely fast speed, as if trying to bind and trap him. But just as the water snake rushed toward Suyu's side, blood streaks appeared on Suyu's body, and the blood was shining brightly. He clenched his fist like the claws of a giant crocodile. Boom! The water snake was instantly knocked out with a punch. On the third floor of the nearby restaurant, a young man in his 20s suddenly changed his expression from the window beside him. He happened to notice Suyu passing by. He had met all the young cultivators of the Lin family, and Suyu was a stranger who was even younger and more innocent than him. In addition, he caught a glimpse of the magical aura on Suyu's body, which was only the second level of the Qi refining realm. And now he is on the third level of the Qi refining realm. Dealing with a rookie on the second level of the Qi refining realm would be like abusing a chicken. So without hesitation, he directly cast a water snake spell and planned to bind Suyu up before humiliating and torturing her. Who would have thought that my spell would be shattered with a punch from the opponent's body? Body refining technique. The young man's face suddenly changed. Without even thinking, he turned around and ran away, trying to escape from the other side of the restaurant. In the next second, there was a loud bang behind me, and the walls and windows on the third floor of the restaurant shattered. Roar! In a faint moment, a terrifying roar from the beast echoed through everyone. Even the young man on the third level of the chi refining realm instinctively stiffened under this roar, and his footsteps paused for a moment. And this moment is already deadly enough. Bang! Bang! Su Yu was covered in blood and radiance, transforming into a nearly 10-foot large humanoid crocodile. With a speed far exceeding that of a young man, he leapt from the street and rushed into the restaurant, punching the person in the back with a punch. Bang! The explosive power of the fourth layer of the Crocodile Demon 108 body refining technique erupted like a torrent, pouring out with Su Yu's arm. The young man's body, which was not much stronger than that of an ordinary person, was directly shattered by Su Yu's punch. Blood splattered and dismembered limbs scattered all over the ground. Kill the youth. Su Yu's eyes were red and he angrily scolded, "Dare to attack and kill me, seek death." Two beautiful women in the private room of the restaurant were so scared that they collapsed to the ground, and a faint odor flowed out between their legs, causing them to pee. The two of them looked at the monster, wrapped in blood streaks in great fear. At the next moment, Su Yu suddenly turned around and glared at the two of them. Ah! The two of them screamed, their eyes rolled white, and in an instant, they fainted from fear and fell to the ground. And Su Yu snorted, scanned his eyes, and saw a beastly leather bag that had fallen into the corner. He quickly picked it up without even opening it to take a look. His figure quickly left and disappeared. After a long time, the restaurant owner trembled and arrived at the scene, only to see the Lin family cultivator who was dead with only fragments of meat left. The restaurant owner's eyes turned black and he let out a mournful cry, "That's over. A cultivator from the Lin family died here, and the Lin family is not allowed to kill him." At this thought, the boss shuddered and ran downstairs, quickly escaping from Changsheng with all his belongings and family. And the Lin family only found out about this after almost half an hour, when several cultivators came to the restaurant. Seeing the miserable situation at the scene, several cultivators from the Lin family turned red in their eyes. "Lin Xiu!" A person roared angrily, "Damn it, you're so ruthless that you dare to kill people from the Lin family. Su family, do you want to go to war? It's too tragic." A few people endured nausea and collected Lin Xiu's body, hastily bringing his remaining body back to the family, allowing the elders of the family to uphold justice. On the other hand, the culprit has returned to their original state and quietly returned to their own courtyard in the Su mansion. "Young master, you have come back." Seeing Su Yu, Ling Dong rushed forward with joy. If it weren't for Su Yu's intervention, Ling Dong might have jumped into his arms. After chatting for a while, Ling Dong happily went to prepare tonight's dinner for Su Yu. "The young master has returned, so we need to have a sumptuous meal tonight." Su Yu returned to his room and took out the animal skin bag to open and examine. Ha! In addition to 15 inferior spirit stones, there is actually a jade bottle, as well as a water attribute skill and a water attribute spell inside the animal skin bag. The jade vase is a chi refining pill. Originally, there should have been 10, but now there are only 3 inside. The water attribute technique is called Xianshui Ju, which is the most important and widely practiced technique in the Lin family. It can be practiced up to 9 levels in the chi refining realm. There are 6 levels of cultivation techniques here. And the water attribute spell, also known as the dark snake technique, is a powerful spell that can be attacked and defended. Seeing this harvest, Su Yu was extremely surprised and said, "I've made a lot of money." No wonder in the past, many game tycoons in the cultivation game like to be robbers, and this extra money came quickly and happily. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Opportunities. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Opportunities. Now Suyu only needs less than 3 hours to reach the limit when he cultivates Wudong Green Wood Ju every day. Later, in his spare time, he will follow Su Changyu to learn medicine properties, analyze miraculous drugs, and cultivate body-building skills and magic skills. If you have leisure time in the future, you may not be able to practice these water attribute techniques and spells. Perhaps for other cultivators, being greedy but not refined is a bad thing. But for him, who has a proficiency panel and a balanced 5-element spiritual root, being greedy would only be a good thing. Those who cultivate immortality can live a long life. As long as they can endure their temper and endure for thousands of years, they may become a hexagonal war god. Suyu yearned for it and couldn't help but imagine the days after thousands of years. As for the bottleneck of spiritual roots and comprehension talents. For proficiency panels, there are no bottlenecks. As long as he gradually accumulates proficiency, it is not difficult for him to live a long life, and as long as he lives a long life, he can achieve the imagination of the hexagonal god of war. After looking at the Xianshui technique and the Xianqi technique, Suyu first put them away and then picked up a jade bottle to look at the 3 qi refining pills inside. A good thing, but I don't know how effective it is. Suyu had some anticipation, and he had not eaten it yet. He put it away and will use it again when he cultivates tomorrow. Later, Suyu went to the yard to practice body-building techniques. Since the 4th layer of Crocodile Demon 108 body refining technique was broken through, the progress of the body refining technique has slowed down. One reason is that the higher the level, the more difficult it is to cultivate. The second reason is that in the middle of the first level, the demon beast's essence and blood no longer have a significant impact on his current cultivation of body techniques. Practicing body cultivation techniques step by step every day can increase proficiency by approximately 0.2%. Perhaps it takes a first-level later stage monster essence and blood to improve the body refining technique more quickly. It's just that it's not easy to obtain the demon beast essence and blood in the later stage of the first level. At least there is no pharmacy, nor is there any Changsheng. You may have to go to the trading market under the Cloud Sword sect to buy it, and the price is definitely not cheap. Take your time. Not long after Suyu practiced his body cultivation technique, a powerful aura suddenly approached Su Mansion and roared angrily, "Su Peng, hand over the killer who attacked Lin Xiu, otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite." Suyu suddenly stopped listening, his face surprised. Has Elder Lin from the Lin family arrived? Lin Xiu. Is it the assailant he just killed? I was counterattacked and killed. Now my family still has the face to come knocking on me, Suyu felt angry in his heart and recorded this account. The person who came was Lin Hai, the 4th elder of the Lin family, and Lin Xiu, who was killed, was his grandson. His talent is not particularly strong, but at least he is one of the only 3 descendants among his grandchildren who possess spiritual root talent and can cultivate immortality. So Lin Xiu had 3 levels of Qi refining realm to carry 15 inferior spirit stones and an unused bottle of Qi refining pills around. At this moment, Lin Hai brought a group of cultivators from the Lin family to block the door. Just not long after, a lazy voice came from behind them. "Xiao Hai, I just left the door, and you dare to bring someone to block my Su family." Lin Hai's face slightly changed as he listened to the sound. He turned around and saw Su Bin, the 5th elder of the Su family, walking towards him with a smile as he pushed away the cultivators from the Lin family. Lin Hai is older than Su Bin. When he heard Su Bin call him Xiao Hai, he immediately became angry and said, "Su Bin, if your Su family dares to kill my grandson, this matter is not over." Oh. Su Bin walked to Lin Hai's body with an indifferent expression, pushed aside Lin Hai who was blocking the way, and walked to the front of Su Mansion before turning to look at Lin Hai. "By the way, I forgot to ask who killed your grandson. I need to reward him." Lin Hai's expression was extremely difficult to see, and he stared coldly at Su Bin with a murderous intent, without saying a word. Seeing this, Su Bin seemed stunned for a moment and said, "You don't know who killed it, do you? What kind of door are you blocking?" Su Bin was furious and pointed at Lin Hai, shouting, "Get out of here, otherwise I'll kill you. Grass, any garbage dares to block my Su family door." Humph. Lin Hai was not angry either, he just gave Su Mansion a cold glance and then left with his people. Blocking the door is not self-inflicted humiliation, but rather indicates the attitude of the Lin family. This matter is not over. So Lin Hai didn't really plan to take action, he just turned around and took people away. Su Bin looked at the back of Lin Hai and others as they left, his eyes narrowed again. The biting dog didn't bark. Lin Hai didn't take action this time, indicating that the Lin family was plotting something bigger. When they actually take action, the Su family may have big trouble. Humph, it's not like any cat or dog can bite the Su family. If you dare to take action, it will come at a cost. Su Bin turned around and entered the Su mansion. In the yard. Upon seeing this scene, Su Yu's divine sense couldn't help but secretly smack his tongue and say, "Elder Wu is really fierce. He has scolded so many people from the Lin family." The next morning, when the sun was rising and purple energy was coming from the east, Su Yu swallowed a qi refining pill in the yard. For a moment, a strong spiritual energy filled his whole body, which was extremely comfortable. It's still the aura of wood attribute, which can easily be refined into the magic of Wudong green wood formula. Su Yu was pleasantly surprised. Subsequently, Su Yu immersed himself in cultivation. After 2 hours, Su Yu woke up. He looked at the proficiency panel intently, and then was shocked. Wudong green wood Ju proficiency increased by 0.52%. If there were qi refining pills to assist in cultivation every day, wouldn't it be possible to break through the 3rd level of the qi refining realm in half a year? The speed has more than doubled. However, taking the qi refining pill every day is too luxurious. Even Miss Su Ji, who entered the Cloud Sword sect, could not have such luxurious cultivation resources. After being amazed, Su Yu shook his head and said, "It's better to gradually accumulate proficiency that suits me. Anyway, he has a proficiency panel and no bottlenecks. Compared to others, his cultivation speed is not actually slow, especially as he progresses further, the advantage of having no bottlenecks becomes more apparent. Others can get stuck in a bottleneck for years, decades, or hundreds of years, but he can push it all the way. How do they compare?" Calm down, Su Yu continued to practice body cultivation and spells. On the 2nd day after Su Yu returned, Su Qingyi learned of his return and specially invited him to come and gather. Seeing Su Qingyi, Su Yu was surprised again. "I only heard before that Su Qingyi was seriously injured in an ambush by the Lin family, so theoretically, he should still be recovering from his injuries now. Why did he reach the 4th level of the qi refining realm after being at home for a month?" Su Qingyi saw Su Yu's surprised expression and smiled slightly, saying, "Do you remember the ancient jade box from the 5 elders before? I have some chance." Su Yu. Lying trough. His mood really doesn't know how to describe it. With such a pitted, krypton gold jade box, Su Qingyi could easily get a chance with a lower-grade spirit stone. This luck has run out. He was a bit envious, but only envious, and congratulated Su Qingyi on the way. After all, compared to the so-called jade box opportunity, Su Yu did not believe that anyone else's opportunity could match his proficiency panel. After chatting for a moment, Su Qingyi said again, "By the way, Miss will come back in a few days. Let's see if the 3 of us can get together again." Line. Su Yu has no objections. Before, all 3 of them participated in the beginner-disciple test of the Cloud Sword sect together. It's good to gather together, he also wants to learn some external information from Su Ji. For example, the Cloud Sword sect, such as the Fengshe town under the Cloud Sword sect. End of this chapter.